What's going on, everybody? It's Dan, Moonshine, the Hillbilly Hellraiser. How are you all doing? I'm doing all right. Can't really complain. My extended weekend's about to end, which is fine. It's time to get back to work. I still have plenty of stuff to do before the end of the year, before Christmas time rolls upon us, rolls upon and over us. And then we lead into the brand new year, and yeah, we'll start a brand new year with a brand new year. Actually marks the third start of the third year of my channel, even though I've technically had my channel for probably like 15 years or so, something like that. I started using it to promote my wrestling matches and trying to elevate my profile for bookings and such. Uh, However, a few years ago, on December 31st of 2023, I decided to start actually producing content on it as far as me talking about stuff that interests me and all that sort of thing. So it's always a fun time of year for me because it kind of marks how long I've been doing this crazy nonsense. And it's been fun. I mean, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I've picked up little tricks and tips and learning how to edit things and just trying to cut promos without babbling or stammering or stuttering too much. That doesn't always work, but I do what I can. So it's kind of cool. It's just a cool little footnote is that every time on New Year's Eve it marks another year that I've been doing this channel. That said, it's that time of year where all of us metal nerds get at our pocket protectors, our pens, and our notepads, and we write down our favorite releases of the year. And I am no exception. I love doing this stuff. I love watching other people's videos. I've watched a ton of them. None of them have really influenced my decision outside of I've found a couple more really cool albums to check out. And yeah, the only thing I would say influenced me is that there was a comment I saw in somebody's video that said they were surprised that nobody was doing 25 of 2025. So I said, you know what, I could do that. I could bang out five extra ones because I was going to do 20 myself, like most people. And I figured, some people have done 35. I even saw somebody, I watched Altars of Madness. I watched Matt's best of for the year. And somebody in his comments did his top 100, and that's crazy. Um, Give me one quick second because the music stopped playing in the background, and while I don't think anyone can hear it, I can hear it, and I like listening to music while I'm doing this stuff rather than people hearing nothing but me talking to myself because my neighbors know I live alone. So to have me talking, they either think I'm on the phone at 11 o'clock at night or I'm just talking to myself like a madman, which either is a possibility. All right, and I'm back. So as I was saying, yeah, I watch a lot of people's videos. I enjoy this. I don't have any issue with it. I love hearing new music, discovering new bands. I think that's a crucial component of keeping the metal scene alive is discovering, supporting, and most importantly, purchasing the product that all these new bands put out. It's the only way that anything's going to survive. I totally get, and I'm all in on buying old stuff, picking up the classics if you don't have them, getting into the older bands, learning more about the history of metal and its roots and where all these newer bands come from. That's all fine and good. You're not going to get any argument out of me. However, I do think that you probably it's not going to survive as a scene, as its own little ecosystem if we don't go out and support newer bands, the bands that we like, the bands that we discover. It's being into the most underground stuff is all fine and good. And I'm not saying you got to listen to the most normie mainstream thing. That's not what I'm saying here. the point I'm trying to convey is that if you're one of these people that kind of does this whole deal where it's like, oh, I don't listen to anything past insert this year, or I don't listen to the only thing I like is this, and you insert like some freaking some your favorite album is some split that some Paraguayan black metal band did back in the 80s, and they were a two-piece, and one's dead, the other's in jail, and the split they did with was with a Norwegian band that had the cousin of a friend of Dead's from Mayhem, and none of these bands are around. None of them around anymore. So it's just kind of, to me, it's, I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but it's kind of like, sometimes it boggles my mind the way that people's mindsets are and the way they view this whole thing. But I don't, who knows? It's just my opinion. People might think I'm an asshole just saying any of this, but that's just kind of where my head is at with that sort of thing. But yeah, I really enjoy doing this. I enjoy watching people's videos. I enjoy watching their selections. Some have led me to finding different stuff, and it's cool. I enjoy it. Point being is I enjoy it, and now it's time for me to do mine. So I'll try to go as quickly through these as possible. And as I say that, I did want to add another preamble before I get deep into the heart of the matter here. I listened to personally a lot of new stuff this year. I probably listened to roughly about 100 albums, I would say. And I'm not saying that to brag or anything. It's just that's what I did. And it was fun. It was a labor of love. Not that it was a labor, but I did love it. And I love finding all the different stuff that I found. That's why I ended up doing like stuff that I met. And that didn't even include the stuff that I missed. There's just so much good music came out. As I'm learning quickly, there's so much good stuff that comes out every year, and you can't buy it all, you can't listen to it all, but it sure is fun to try. So, without any further ado or stalling, distraction, anything like that, let's get into this. So, I will start with, let me make sure I have everything in order here. Two, three, four. I am going to start with the bottom five here, the 25 through 21. There's no particular order of these. There's no order of importance. And all the albums that I'm going to mention are great. Even some of the stuff that I mentioned previously are great. It's just the honorable mentions and stuff like that. Go check them all out if you have the time. But just to do the whole 25 of 2025, that's what we're going to do. So first, I'm going to start with Ordo Diabolicum by Aaron Angmar. This is a Greek black metal band on Soul Cellar Records. Excellent, excellent stuff. I talked about him in my black metal recommendation list. Just a fantastic band I discovered this year. Very good stuff. Been digging into their previous releases. Also very good stuff. Black Cosmic Elements and Atavism and Dying Stars. Go check them out if you get the chance. Go check out Soul Cellar. Speaking of, we're going to go right into another Soul Cellar release, and we're going to talk Siltskin by Blood Red Throne. This came out a little bit later in the year. That's why, in all honesty, it wouldn't have made my top list because of how late it came out, but it's a fantastic release. Lots of brutal death metal bordering on slammy parts in certain songs. There's little funky, jazzy kind of bass beats throughout. The vocals are growling and menacing. It's a great release. Just didn't have as much time as some of the other releases to really dig into it, but certainly a fantastic one. Another one that falls into the same realm, very brutal, unrelenting the entire time, does not take its foot off the gas the entire time throughout the course of this album, is Blood of the Wolf 5 Indomitable. This came out on Horror, Gore, Death, Horror, Pain, Gore, Death Productions. Say that three times fast. It just came out this past week, and it's a banger. I highly recommend this. This is one I was playing out at the gym I was wearing out the digital release, and then when I got the CD, there's just so much good about it, and there's more as you listen to it as time goes on. So it's a very good one. So yeah, that's that. And then I will say probably next up is going to be Biohazard, Divided We Fall. This was a fantastic return album from the New York City hardcore legends. Excellent release. Uh, I did I I did reviews on both of these albums. So if you want, and some of these I also did reviews on. So if you want a more deep dive into the albums as far as my breakdowns of them, go check those out. And yeah, this was a great one as well. The boys really came through. I would say it fits comfortably in the middle of what I consider some of their stronger releases, like Urban Discipline, State of the World Address, the self-titled. Very good stuff. Very excellent. The boys did a good job on it. And fun fact, I did just learn that Evan Seinfeld was the cousin of Jerry, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And then finally, I don't have a copy of this, but I really enjoyed it. It is the album Wolves of the Trenches by the band Grenadier. I forget who first mentioned them as far as this was a top album for them, and then I saw a couple other guys that Quest for Metal guy. He mentioned them, I believe, and somebody else might have mentioned them, and that's what led me to listen to it. Very high energy death metal from Canada. I heard a funny thing where somebody said that the song "Migrants of Al Sham," which is about the Syrian war and the resistance forces to al-Assad's regime, which I think that's the Free Syrian Army, if I remember my geopolitics correctly, but how it was kind of taking the side of their perspective. And somebody said that these guys were like their politics wouldn't align with someone like Argus which I kind of laughed at the whole concept of a photo negative Argus. But you see some of the songs and you read the lyrics. They cover lots of controversial topics, real socio political issues. This album came out on Drakkar Productions, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's one of those like quote unquote sketchy labels. If I'm not mistaken, if I am, I apologize. But there's the opener, the Swine of Mount Cashel or Cashel. That was apparently that's an orphanage or was an orphanage in Canada that got rocked by a sex abuse scandal having to do with the church. So there's lots of, I mean, as far as that goes, from some of the more like anti-Christian stuff that Argusland does and like GBK and stuff like that. I don't know how far off they are as far as being a photo negative, but I did find the comment very funny. But definitely go check this one out. This one I was pumping and ripping and running on the elliptical listening to that, just banging away, listening to it. It was good stuff. So that's the bottom half, or not the bottom half, but the bottom five of a top 25 of 2025. Now let's get into the rest of it. I will try to go as quickly as I can. It is me after all. So number 20 is going to be Seomancy, Malediction, and Rights Abominable. This came out way earlier in the year on Invictus Productions. This is the band Necromaniac, UK black thrash, death thrash band. Excellent, excellent stuff. I talked about it in a review. I also talked about it on Shredbeard's channel. He asked me to do one of his mandatory Metal and Mayhem things in his Mayhem Minute. I did that, talked about them again. And yeah, go check them out. It's a fantastic band. I still swear there's a portal somewhere that got opened up listening to a couple of their songs. But that's number 20. Number 19 is going to be Angel of Damnation, Ethereal Blasphemy. This came out on Dying Victims Productions. Dying Victims is another label that is going to be very well represented in my list. Very cool, straight up heavy metal, Merciful Fate style, drifting into kind of doomy. Uh, Fantastic songs. Probably one of my favorite, also one of the greatest titles I've ever heard is the Anal Worship of the Goat Lord. But Evangeline's another really good one. But if you like that sort of that Merciful Fate kind of style mixed with Doom, this is a good release to check out. Not a lot of people talk about it. I can't say I've heard many, if any, people talk about it, but it's definitely a good one. I highly recommend it. Dying Victims has a good roster. They put out some killer work, and yeah, that's one of them. So definitely go check that out. Number 18 is Jerkanthropy by Cedar. I should probably cover the boobs. I don't know how far the YouTube overlords let you go with the nudity, but they are a three-piece from Michigan. This came out on Witch's Brew, which is another great label. Uh, this is Black Thrash, very cool stuff. Banished Occur is really good. Uh, Black Speed Death Cult, another good one. Acadian Invocation. Yeah, if you like this modern type of black thrash, that's definitely inspired by Celtic, Celtic Frost, whichever you prefer, whichever the nomenclature you use, or Hellhammer, Venom, stuff like that, and that modern stuff that you hear from like Bewitcher and bands like that. This definitely is a good one. I've talked about them. Our buddy Drucifer's talked about them. A couple buddies of him mentioned to him. They're a killer band, and definitely they deserve a little bit of love from people. So go check that one out. Dracanthory by Cider. I used to remember how to pronounce it. But next up is number 17 is An Age Undreamed Of by the Sumerian. The Sumerian is a California doom sludge metal three piece, probably more sludge than doom. Lyrically, they kind of fall into more of a Robert E. Howard novel come to life, set to music. It's a fantastic band. Play them loud. They are heavy and they're played best loud and abrasive. Neckbreaker of the Mountain's really good. Deathstalker's really good. Monarch is a great song. The opening instrumental, The Shadow Kingdom, that'll put some hair on someone's chest. Just a fantastic band. Hope to hear more of them in the future, but this was a phenomenal independent release. They put it out themselves, and they are excellent in that high on fire type of in that vein of sludgy kind of doomy stoner rock metal. But yeah, very good stuff. Number 16 is going to be Lightning in a Bottle by Pentagram. Pentagram, what do you say? Maryland Doom metal legends. Bobby Liebling still has it going on. A fantastic release. I was kind of thinking it was going to be a little bit higher. It was one of my more anticipated albums of the year. And this came out on Heavy Psych Sounds. But nonetheless, it's a very good release. Bobby sounds really good vocally. The songs are pretty decent. Again, I did a release of the, or I did a review, I should say, of this album. So if you want to check out my thoughts on it, go check it out. I will say one thing though. I got duped by the internet. I saw a video and somebody said that they had a demo where their name was Virgin Death. That was a lie, and I should have known that was a lie. So I got duped by some dope on the internet, but I'm a bigger dope because I fell for it. So I'm the mark. So I got to apologize for that. That one has haunted me for a while because I'm sure people think, how do you like Pentagram and you don't even know that? It's like, first of all, shut up. Secondly, eh, I figured that there was somebody out there who had way more knowledge of the band than I did because, like, with a lot of stuff, I'm not the most well researched person. So I just figured, well, maybe they had some ancient knowledge I wasn't aware of. And apparently they didn't. They just kind of pulled something out of their ass and I fell for it. So it happens. That's what happens sometimes. But regardless, this is a really good release. I would highly recommend it. Go check it out. Next up, number 14 is going to be a tie for 14 because the guitar player and vocalist for both bands, not he's not vocalist in one, but guitarist in both, vocalist in one. He's in both bands. This is Gene Palabicki's two projects. We're going to go with Perdition Temple, Malign Apotheosis, came out on Hell's Headbangers, and Malefic Throne, The Conquering Darkness, that came out on Agonia Records. I have that on. I've ordered it. It's gonna get here probably within the next couple of weeks or so, but I just don't have a physical copy of it. But both of them are just another brutal. I wouldn't say brutal death metal like that sub niche style, but it's just brutal, fast paced, unrelenting. Another pair of releases that do not take their foot off the gas, don't take their claws out of the jugular. They just go right for the throat and they do not stop. Fantastic, fantastic releases. I did a review on Perdition Temple if you want to hear more of my more in-depth thoughts on it and analysis, but both very killer releases. Gene, his guitar work, his leads, the passages that he comes up with, the riffs, they're amazing. It's the pacing of them, the accents that he uses, all just, and the two sets of backbeats of the players that he gets with Alex Blum and Ronnie Palmer on Perdition Temple, and he's got Steve Tucker. And damn it, I should have looked this up. He plays in Origin, but I can't remember his name for the life of me because I can't say I was really a big Origin person. Even when I saw them live, I lost my earplugs and I was outside while they were playing because I didn't want to go deaf. John Longstreth, that's his name. But both excellent, excellent releases. Go check them out. And that's why they're tied for 14 because they both got Gene in the band. So lucky number 13. What's number 13? Number 13, you may hate me, you may not, but I am not going to be shamed into not liking this. I like this band and I will defend my like of it as much as possible. I'm talking about Ghost and Skeletor. This came out on their, I was going to say Lorna Shore Productions, but it's Lorna Vista Productions, which I believe is, or Lorna Vista Recordings, which I believe is their own personal label because that's the only stuff that comes out on it. But this is an excellent release. Ghost has definitely gone from being a kind of Merciful Fate knockoff from the first album to they've pretty much leaned into the hard rock 80s rock popish sentiments, but it's still very good. I love a lot of songs on this. Lacrima's really good. Peacefield is it's very catchy, very hooky. That's one thing I will say about Ghost and Tobias is that he knows how to craft a hooky riff, a catchy lead, a hook in a song. He definitely knows how to do that very, very well. Massilia Amor is a really good one. Marks of the Evil One. That's one of my favorite songs. I think that's a really, really excellent song. Honestly, probably of the songs on here, I would say probably Satanized, which is one of the singles that came out. That's the weakest one on the album. And if you were to have just heard that, I could understand why you would think that this album was crap. But definitely give this one a listen. If you don't mind 80s style rock, mixed with like goth and arena rock type of stuff. This is a good release. I really enjoyed it, and I think if you're into those sorts of elements, you will too. And that's the sort of stuff that Ghost brings. It's a little bit more on the mainstream side, but I've said it before about them. We need these bands. We do. Maybe you don't, but we do as in the macro. Maybe not you in the micro, but we in the macro need them because what the hell are the kids coming up who are into this type of music? What are they supposed to listen to? I don't care what some of the older heads say. If I don't listen to Kiss. Oh, I don't listen to Metallica. I don't listen to Black Sabbath. Most of you do. Most of you have. And that's where it all began. That's where everybody cut their teeth. All those types of bands. You all didn't come out of the gate listening to, again, some freaking Paraguayan two-piece black metal project or some obscure thrash band. Everybody started listening to the more mainstream, more normie shit that everybody likes to pretend that they're too underground now to appreciate or enjoy, or that, oh, I never listen to that stuff. I honestly, maybe some people are like that, but most of them, I think they're trying to be too cult for cult's sake, and that's what I got to say about that. Moving on, number 12 is, but there was a point to all that ranting, is that they need these bands to go out and go to arenas and enjoy them, and then they eventually, if they really want to get into this, they'll get into the other stuff eventually. Everybody does. If you're real serious about this, you start digging into stuff, learning the history, and that's where it blossoms and grows. So that's what I got to say about that. Number 12, Cryptopsy, An Insatiable Violence. Another excellent release. This came out on Seasons of Mist. Fantastic, brutal death metal. This is brutal death metal. This thing from start to finish is just a nasty, nasty release. The vocals, the riffs, the leads, flows, drumming, it all, for, pun intended, all flows really well. I love the lyrical content where it kind of explores the depths and depravity that social media has lent itself to, and the need for internet fame and stuff like that. Which I guess all of us sitting here talking in front of a webcam and then uploading it onto social media. I guess there's something to be said about that, but yeah, it's a very good release, a good concept. I really enjoyed this one. Cryptopsy, As Gamora Burns, that was my top one in 2023, but this one comes in at number 12. Uh, you know what? I missed one between Pentagram and Malefic Throne because I got moving too fast. So I'm gonna go back. This was actually number 15. This is Faster Than Death by Hyrax. How do you not like Hyrax? They're a fantastic band. Great crossover thrash. The album does not, they were not getting paid by the hour doing that one. I think it's less, it's like roughly 20 minutes long, but a fantastic album. Caton and the boys did a great job on it. Drowned Bodies is probably one of my favorite songs on it, but the whole thing is good. It's a fun album. I really wished I would have gotten to see them when they were here in town with Dark Angel and Sacred Reich and Void, but I didn't get to because it was right as my vacation was ending and I had to go back to work because I had already exhausted most of my PTO, but I probably should have exhausted another day and just gone to see them. But anyhow, so that was 15, going into Malefic Throne, Ghost, Cryptopsy, and now we're heading into number 11. This is Resin Rot by the band Demon Smoke. This came out on Transylvanian Recordings. These guys are I want to say, four-piece sludge band from California. The opening song on this starts with a feedback riff that is so I Hate God like that it could do nothing but win me over and take a little piece of my heart with it. If you're gonna try to win me over doing stuff like that, it really works. I mean, this is great as far as like a I Hate God, Buzz Oven, Iron Monkey type of sludge metal. It's loud, it's noisy, it's mean and nasty on all levels. I did a review on this, so if you want to hear a more in-depth explanation of the album, definitely go check that out. I certainly wouldn't mind people going and checking out some of the reviews. But yeah, a fantastic release. Another one not a lot of people were talking about, but I think deserves a lot more attention than it had gotten previously. All right, and now we're into the top 10, gang. Yeah, we're doing it. And it's only about a half hour, so I'm going to try to speed it up just a little bit. So number 10, Dissonance Theory by Coroner. This came out on Century Media. This is legitimately the first time I've listened to Coroner. I've never listened to them before. They fall into that category of bands that are older that I never really got into growing up. Hear a lot about them and just still never really dove into their catalog, but I know a lot of people love them. I enjoyed this. It was really good enough that it's my top 10. It was a little bit higher earlier when I first heard it, but there was something that was I don't know, some of the songs just didn't have a certain level of staying power, but I did really let me grab it real quick. I did really enjoy Sacrificial Lamb and Consequence. I believe it's Trinity where there's this bass beat that they utilize on it, and it's almost like it's getting tuned down while they're doing it. Very very cool stuff. But it was very good, very enjoyable. My first impression of Coroner was a good one. I'll go check out some of the earlier stuff. I've heard a lot of people talking this one up, and for good reason. I really enjoyed it. Then I heard about some of the previous releases, so I'll go check them out eventually. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And from what I gathered, people are having a hell of a time getting their hands on it due to supply chain issues. I saw Nate Garrett talk about it, like Sony owns Century Media and them not really caring because it's more about doing digital and Spotify and stuff like that. Excuse me. Even when I went to the Evil Empire to order it, because I had some credits with them, it took them a hell of a time to get it to me, but they got it to me like a week or so ago. So I've been enjoying listening to it on an actual player as opposed to the digital format. It's good stuff. Definitely enjoy it. So next up, my laptop that was playing all the music I was listening to in the background, the battery just died, so I got to go plug that in, and then now it's quiet again. So next, number 9 is going to be Never Quite Dead by Pagan Altar, proto doom metal band, another Dying Victims Productions album. This was another fantastic release, first one without their original singer Terry, who died. They did a great job on this. I saw Alan from Let's Talk Metal talking about this, and he was talking about how the second half of the album was kind of, it started to die a little bit in his eyes, not his words, but in his impression of it. But man, I gotta disagree. Kismet is one of my favorite songs on this. It's one of my favorite songs of the year. The Dead's Last March is really good. I get what he's saying with the folky kind of stuff, but Listen Church, Saints and Sinners, all very strong, strong stuff. Probably overall, it might be my favorite, like traditional doom metal, not so much epic doom metal, but that type of like the proto doom kind of stuff of the year. I think this is probably the best one. But very cool stuff. And that one is number 9. And then number 8, we are going to go with my dark horse candidate. And this is going to be We Own the Night by All Sinners. This came out on Rat Pack Records. I most recently talked about this, another one I did a review on. I also did a review on the Pagan Altar if you want to hear more of that. Uh, Fantastic hard rock, mix of traditional 80s heavy metal, like think of Malice, and that 80s Sunset Strip stuff, like the grittier stuff, the good stuff. I mean, just great, great stuff. The reason the closing song on this is phenomenal. We Own the Night, the title track, excellent, excellent stuff. I love lyrically how I love the lyrics behind it and the message that goes behind it. It's it's very uplifting, and a lot of these releases that I'm going to talk about that are coming up here, that's really what set them apart for me from a lot of the stuff. They're emotive. They have these moments where it delves into the darkness, but kind of it brings you out of it. It's a little more uplifting and inspirational versus just being dark and depressing and making you feel like shit the whole time. It's more there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that's kind of a good thing. I mean, a lot of bands they really are talking more about like somewhat of the deeper struggles that people go through in their day-to-day lives, the humanity struggles and stuff like that, which is important nowadays because people are kind of sometimes they just they start everybody goes through it, and sometimes people either you pull yourself out of it or you just get dragged down further. And I'm one of those people who likes to think that there's a little more positivity in the world to look forward to than all the darkness and depression, because that just sucks. But anyhow, that's my other profound message for the day. You didn't come here to hear all that. You came here to see what I thought were the best albums of the year. So number 7, The Screaming of the Valkyries by Cradle Filth. Cradle of Filth. This came out on Napalm Records. I love Cradle of Filth. I didn't really get into them back in the day, just started getting into them. They do symphonic black metal right. It's like, for me, it's like a Hammer horror film come to life. I really enjoy Cradle of Filth stuff. It's just such it's so over the top's a real hyperbolic way to describe it, but it's just it's so grand, and and not pompous. That's a horrible word to describe it, but there's this pomp and and grandiosity. Grand is probably the best way to describe it, and it really evokes images and it comes to life, and there's such denseness to the arrangements of the songs. Everybody who contributed to this album, I know a few of them are suing Danny Felth right now, but they did a fantastic job on this. It's very well produced, very well done, and so many great songs on it. Again, I did a review of it. Go check it out. It's an excellent, excellent album if you haven't heard it already. Cradle of Filth, The Screaming of the Valkyries, number seven. Now, number six. This is kind of a dark horse candidate for me. This one is Green Carnation, a dark poem, part one, The Shores of Melancholia. This came out on Seasons of Mist. Again, Seasons of Mist is going to also, they're getting represented here very well. That's what it looks like when it's not. The only thing I don't like about this album is the way that this doesn't sit in there right. That's the only thing I don't like about this. I put a little piece of bubble wrap in there to keep it together. But this is a fantastic album. If you're not familiar with We Have Notes, if you're not familiar with Green Carnation, they are an excellent, excellent Norwegian death metal band turned gothic rock, progressive types rock. This is their first follow up to 2020's Leaves of Yesteryear, which was their first album in 14 years. Take away the 2022 single that they did of Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce. That was standing. This is basically the follow up to their 2020 release. So it took them about 5 years to put this out, and they did an excellent job on this. I got to give much respect and love to Scott from No Solution. He doesn't post a lot of videos anymore, if at all, but he recommended this to me, and I really enjoyed it. It's what I really liked about it is that it's solemn and introspective. At times it's deep, like you listen to a Silence Took You, and the lyrically it took me to a different place when I was listening to it. Kind of made me reflect on certain things in my life, and not to get too deep into things, but it just really kind of hit me in my feels, as the kids would say, and not like I was crying or anything like some sort of fanook or anything like that, or some, but it was just it was very cool. It was like, oh wow, this is actually kind of this is a bit cerebral and deep, which I really appreciate. Probably my favorite song on here is Me My Enemy. It's got a very Pink Floydish delivery. It's loaded with class and sophistication, just the way it kicks in with the keys leading into the bass rhythm that starts it all off. And lyrically it kind of it's one of the main introspective songs on the album. It's very reflective and gloomy at times, but a fantastic song. It is funny, I played it at work because I just think it's a kick-ass song. Another great song, one of the better ones of the year. And a couple of the people I work with, they're like, Dan, you okay? You need to talk to somebody. And I was like, no, I just like the song. The song rules. I'm not depressed or anything. I mean, I get that way sometimes, but not in this case. This is actually bringing me up a little bit. So, but uh, Jay Till's vocals on this are phenomenal. I had to look up how to pronounce his name in both as Silence Took You and Me My Enemy. I mean, he does a great job. He's got an interesting voice where it's uneasy at times, but it works. And he's got a great range, great dynamics to the voice, and just an excellent, excellent song. Excellent album. The Shores of Melancholia is probably the most upbeat one on the album. They do a collaboration with Enslaves, Groot Hill, and that's a really good one. Yeah, go check this one out. Fantastic stuff. Green Carnation, A Dark Poem, one. The Shores of Melancholia. This is supposed to be a three-parter, a trilogy. So I am definitely looking forward to hearing what they come up with next. And then next up, we're going back into my vinyl pile here. When we're going back to Seasons of Mist, we're talking Lachrymose Monuments of Obscuration, Hooded Menace. This was an excellent release. I really enjoyed this one. I did a full review of it. Lugubrious Dance is great. Daughters of Lingering Pain, uh, Pale Masquerade, all excellent stuff. It's doom metal, but they death doom, but they start drifting into traditional heavy metal elements. You hear lots of Merciful Fate in there with the leads and the arrangements. Very good stuff. A lot of people are focusing a lot of attention on Save a Prayer, the Duran Duran cover that they did, and it's good. It definitely it's an odd choice, but it works. And that's again kind of a theme of some of the stuff that I listened to this year that I really enjoyed. It kind of has there's odd elements, but it works. And so yeah, man, Hood and Menace is number 5. Number 4 is an album I don't have. I was gonna get it, and it got back ordered. And then I was thinking maybe one of my coworkers were gonna buy it for me for Christmas because I gave them a list because they all asked me what I like and what I wanted to, what albums I didn't have. So I said, well, this is one of the ones because it got put on back order. But this is Dorado by Spirit World. Their look is attention grabbing, but do not mistake this band as a gimmick band. They are an excellent their mix of hardcore with country western and thrash elements definitely set them apart from the pack. It's fresh, it's unique, and it works. Again, this is one of those where it's odd, but it works. I got to see them live opening up for Terror, and that's what really kind of that's what sold it for me. I mean, you listen to Abilene Grimm, No Vacancy in Heaven, and I really I challenge you to not start moving. Listen to this stuff. Like they would say, it's going to get you two stepping, but there's just freaking the between the gang vocals and like the and just the tough guy riffs throughout the whole thing. I mean, it'll bring out your inner meathead. It'll get you moving. And even the stuff that they do that mixes the country western elements like Stigmata Scars and Bird Song of Death, Prayer Lips. They're good. It's odd, but it works, and it definitely worked for me. And I recommend checking it out. I saw one person said that this was a disappointing album for him. It didn't have enough breakdowns and stuff like that. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I suggest people check it out. I enjoyed it enough that I made it my number 4. All right, I'm going to take a quick break here. All right, gang, we're entering the top 3. Here we go. The number 3 is going to be 3 by the band Kingwitch. This came out on Listenable Records. I also did a review on this if you want to hear a more full, detailed breakdown of it. This is a fantastic heavy metal doom project. They're a 3-piece from Edinburgh, Scotland. Just a fantastic band. Excellent stuff. Uh, Laura Donnelly's vocals are they're expressive, they're soulful. They convey this sense of there's pain there, but it has moments where it really expresses the hopefulness in all of it as you're dealing with it, and that kind of leads. That's kind of what it represents a lot of the subject matter that they delve into, like emotional pain and trauma, stuff like that. Jamie Gilchrist, his lead choices and his riffs are excellent. They really kind of set the table and lead the charge and set the pace for everything that sonically happens here. Rory Lee and Andrew Scott do an excellent job, kind of laying the foundation with the bass and drum work. Great album. Digging in the Dirt, Swarming Flies, Suffering Life, Last Great Wilderness. They do a cover of Jesus Christ Pose, which to me, that's kind of a hard song to hit, especially with the Chris Cornell's vocals. But Laura does an excellent job on it. She's got a to me, very Joplin-esque feel to her range and her power. And I really enjoyed it so much so that I didn't see too many people talking about this. But yeah, man, this is my this is my top three, and it was a fantastic, fantastic release. One of those that I did not, I didn't set down too much once I got my hands on it and listened to it, and I was like, yeah, man, this is badass. So yeah, go check that out. Number two, which I kind of vacillated between one and two. I'm actually listening to a previous release of theirs right now, but my number two is also number three by Black Braid. Black Braid is it's a project from John Krieger, who also goes by Skygosawa, which means the witch hawk in Mohawk, in Mohican. This is an Adirondack Mountains band from New York. Black metal, very good. I think a lot of people kind of latched onto it because of the indigenous, because John's. I'm gonna presume, since his name is pronounced Mohican, that he's from the Mohawk tribe, and how he covers a lot of stuff about struggles of indigenous people and the history of that. But he mostly focuses on nature and people becoming more more centered and grounded towards nature, which is a very cool thing. Uh, Going out and just walking around in a forest or through a park or something like that, or through the mountains. It's very relaxing. It's very reinvigorating. There's something to be said about that. I mean, I come from the upstate area, where not so much the Adirondacks, but it's in similar mountainous regions, and it's beautiful. And if you don't live, you can't not come from, if you come from there and you don't have an appreciation for nature, then you just, I don't know what you must have, the only nature you're aware of is the rock that you're living under, because it's a beautiful region, and it, it's, it's wonderful, snowfall and the trees and the season changes and stuff like that. It's definitely not living in Florida, I can tell you that much. But going on to the music, this is an just excellent, excellent stuff. I love the hell out of this album from start to finish. There's hardly a weak track on here. Even probably my least favorite, Tears of the Dawn, that's got some riffs in there that it starts losing me, but then I mean, he really outdid himself on this one, and I mean, the dying breath of a the dying breath of a sacred stag, war drums, war drums at dawn on the day of my death. That's a wordy one, but yeah, it's the. I mean, they do a cover of Lord Belial's Fleshbound towards the tail end, and he becomes the burning stars. I mean, this thing has riffs for days. Uh, John's secret weapon is Neil Schneider. He does all the drum work for him, and he does an amazing job. Just his speed and his precision, and the way that he accents all of the riffs and all the musical, all the writing and the guitar work that John does, because he does all of it, the lyrics, the music, everything besides the drums, and that's what he recruited Neil for. They're a fantastic team. I missed out on seeing them in 2023. They opened up the Decibel tour with Dark Funeral and Cattle Decapitation, and I got there late, right right as they got off stage, and right before 200 stab wounds were going on. So I missed them. But yeah, man, this is an excellent album. I could not get enough of this. I listen to this constantly, and it's fantastic. To take a quick second, gang, let the beard hairs down, let the hair flow a little bit, and I appreciate everybody sticking with me. We are at number one, and my number one album of the year is going to be The Return of Magic by Wake. This came out on Relapse Records. Wake are a six-piece sludge metal band from Arkansas. This came out a little bit earlier in the year. It didn't really resonate with me at first. However, I got to see them live. They opened up for Acid Bath on Acid Bath's reunion tour, and they completely blew me away. They were excellent at every level. They were just amazing. I mean, it was one of those things where the first time I heard it, I guess maybe I wasn't in, it just wasn't the right time, or I wasn't focused enough on the album itself and really listening to it. But after hearing them live and seeing the stuff performed, and then going back and listening to it, something about it just clicked with me. And they're fantastic. I kind of wish I would have discovered them a lot sooner. This was their first album. It's a comeback album, I guess you could say. Their first one since the album was Rest, and they put it out. And I'm just gonna look real quick just so I can properly give you any information if you are not familiar with these guys and gals. But Rest came out in 2011, so this is their first album in 14 years. And that's quite some time between albums, and that's quite some rest. But yeah, man, they were. It's great. I mean, this is another one where the reason that it resonated with me and the reason that it's my number one album of the year is, first of all, the songwriting is excellent. I could not get enough of the Return of Magic and You'd Swore We Always Be Together. Those were great songs. The rest of the album is really strong with Stardust Flowers, Distant Constellations, After Reverse are all good. There's only 5 songs and they're super long, most of them. But there's times where you don't even really notice the length because it takes you on such a ride the entire time. There's mood shifts and tone shifts and dynamics. The It switches between heavy sludgy noise rock to super riffy doom kind of stuff into the country westerny, almost bluegrassy folk kind of stuff, and then it'll hit these progressive elements, and it takes you on a journey. There's 2 vocalists. It's Brittany Fugate and Chris Terry, and the interplay between the two of them is amazing. The way that their screams are anguished at times, but at other times there's a sense of catharsis and a hopefulness that kind of springs from it. It's just the way everything about this is arranged. Like I truly I truly highly recommend in every facet. People go check this album out. I really, really enjoyed it. I was telling people about it after I heard it, after going to see them back in May, I want to say it was. And yeah, I could not get enough of this one. This is one of those, like, if I were some TikTok chick all hopped up on pumpkin spice, I'd be telling you I was obsessed with this. But no, it was a fantastic album. I really enjoyed it. It really stuck with me, and it was definitely probably, I would say, not just the comeback album of the year. It definitely it was better than Corners, better than Biohazards, but as far as return albums, they really they it was the return of magic for Wake because they did an amazing job on this. And again, definitely go check this out. So yeah, man, that's my top 25. I know it took us a while to get there. I did kind of half-assed warn you that I sure can talk, but I appreciate anybody who has stuck with me through this, or maybe you watched it in clips or spurts or little intervals. I certainly I get it. You know, people's time's precious. You don't have a hour to kill looking at some dummy who's got a face for radio and a voice for silent movies telling you about his favorite albums of the year like most people give a crap. But I do appreciate anybody who's sat through this. If you have a list that you want to share with me, please do. I certainly like to hear it. If there's something you thought that I maybe missed or what your thoughts are on my list, I'm all ears. And yeah, man, that's what I got for you. So as always, this is Dan from Moonshine Talking, thanking you for joining me in my best of list. It is one of my favorite things to do. It's one of the reasons I started doing these metal videos, and yeah, I enjoy it, and I appreciate anybody who's stuck with me. I appreciate anybody who has subscribed to this channel. This stupid nonsense. I mean, I went from about 3 years ago, having 12 subscribers to almost at 450, and it boggles my mind that anybody watches this. I said the first time I did any of this, I'd be shocked if 5 people watch it. So whenever I see hundreds of views, or I see 1,000 or whatever, even when I see 30, I'm amazed. I'm humbled is kind of a little bit, that's a pretentious word, but it amazes me that anybody watches this crap. But I do appreciate it. I do try to put a little effort into it, so I hope you enjoy it. And again, that's what I got for you. So as always, stay sick, stay heavy, stay brutal. Always tuck your chin upon impact. Don't forget to breathe. Have a good one. Take it easy. Everybody, have a happy new year, and I will catch you on the next video. Later.